Welcome back to Reforestation Nation, ladies and gents. I'm your host, Alex Markelides, and today we're going to be talking about carbon. What is carbon? What are carbon credits? And how can we sequester as much as possible to trigger drawdown? We are here in the Redwoods with none other than the biggest carbon offset company in North America, their president, Roger Williams. Roger, thank you for your time.
Pleasure to be here, thanks.
Glad to have you. So where do you find yourself getting connected with nature? Where's your zen?
I love being in the woods, I love surfing, I love just any engagement with nature and taking my kids out in it. I've been involved in environmental issues for the entirety of my career. It started as a Peace Corps volunteer in Guatemala after undergrad, and I've just been passionate about environmental issues throughout.
This is gorgeous, right? So your company helps other companies do this.
Given the setting, which is so dramatic right here, let's talk about forest carbon for a minute. We work with landowners that want to take a step towards long-term stewardship, essentially leaving forest as forest, storing as much carbon as they can in the acres that they own or manage. And we come in and look at how much carbon are you storing relative to what happens in your area? What are your neighbors doing? Are you a better actor than your neighbors? And if so, are you in a position to agree to do that for a very long period of time? And depending on the program that we participate in, there's a program in California, the compliance program, that's a 100-year commitment on behalf of a landowner. The voluntary program's 40 years, but essentially we are measuring the carbon sequestered and the landowner is making a decision to keep that carbon sequestered for a long period of time. That's the lungs of the earth, and so in all instances we're looking for opportunities to create these incentives for enhanced sequestration.
As many people know, there's a voluntary and a compliance space for carbon dioxide. In the compliance space, really the only game in town is the state of California. We are enthusiastic about that expanding, about other states potentially joining in and maybe linking with California. You have this compliance path going in one way where we're hoping to keep expanding these programs. And then in the voluntary world, I think we're seeing just more and more interest from landowners who own forests and hear about carbon as an asset class that they previously were not aware of, and are getting more and more keen on the idea of generating revenue from their forest by growing trees instead of cutting them down.
And that's where we come in to create those incentives, find entities that want to support that decision on behalf of the landowner and match that up.
We can actually determine how much CO2 on a per acre basis is in a given forest. And from that, you take the volume in terms of metric tons of CO2 per acre, and then you kind of compare that to your baseline and say, okay, well, I think this project, after doing all the numbers, is going to be generating 200,000 credits in the first year or 15,000 credits every single year. So we can take a look to tell them, hey, this is how much carbon you have, but then at the end of the day, how many dollars you will expect to receive if you sign up for this program.
When somebody supports a project like this and says, I actually am going to pay good money for the decision to applaud and ensure that this environmental benefit is something that is going to endure over time, we need to make sure that we can feel good about that it's not us making just this claim, but there's a third-party verification of that project, and that's part of what goes into kind of where we earn our keep, right?
Right.
It's finding good projects that are eligible, doing the work, and over a long period of time, and then providing these benefits to the landowners and then overall to the planet.
We're going to need to get to carbon negative. We're going to need to commit to not just net zero emissions, but we're going to need to get to negative emissions to get to a 1.5 degrees Celsius scenario that might be a more livable Earth for us all. And in order to do so, we're going to need all kinds of measures: efficiency, renewables, offsets, being able to plant more trees, and that also affords us the recreation that we need in order to be happy, sane, and healthy humans. Looking forward, having offsets play a role is going to be key to getting our emissions down and also providing cost containment for those that are regulated.
Whether it is an individual, a family, whether it's a corporation, whether it's a government, it all starts with just understanding what is my impact on the environment, where I reside, where I live. Understanding what is that footprint, and then putting together a path of, well, what do I want to do about it? Quite simply, right? And so there's a lot that goes into that, but that's where my company focuses, helping folks understand what is their path towards reducing or sequestering or mitigating their impact on the planet. And there's so many different ways to do that. We're excited to be in the middle of trying to inspire change.
Thanks for watching Reforestation Nation, where we interview impact leaders about how we can scientifically thrive with nature. And as always, subscribe to stay alive by clicking here and watch more content with us right here.
Please click and subscribe.
This is Martin from 7th Generation. If there's any green guru, it's him. If he's doing it, I would do it too.
Click and subscribe.
To stay alive.
You think they're really going to do that?
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, Martin. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, Alex.